Bingo. A quick break from the podcast. I want to introduce you to my brand new friend. This is Coach Omade, nicknamed Coach O, and he has recently taken the playbook and the skills course on Coach Ballgame University. Coach O, thanks for jumping in. Where do we find you today?
I'm just at home right now. Ironically, it is a practice day, so at some point I will draft up a practice schedule.
I
And
love
I
it.
live
I love it.
I live in a suburb of Portland, Oregon, in the
Portland,
Pacific
Oregon.
Northwest.
My Sandlot tour has not hit Oregon yet, but that's the goal. The goal is to get there, and who knows, you might be our host. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but kind of fill in the listener. Well, what are you coaching later on today? Do you have kids? What's the footing there in Portland?
Yeah, I mean, I've got two kids. They're about to be 8 and 10, and my son, who is going to be 8, basically coaching his little league team. So it is 7 to 9 year olds. And I played forever, but I've never coached. And as you know, those are two different things. So
They are.
yeah.
I've traveled around. I've done camps with Barry Zito, World Series champions, Cy Young Award winners, and they're like, "Hey, man, this is a different language. Coaching kids, I don't know how to teach my 5-year-old how to catch or throw." So, I wanted you to come on. You've taken the skills course and the playbook. What have been some bright sides? How have you used that Coach Ballgame University in your daily walk?
Yeah, I'll give you sort of the outcome for me. If my confidence level going into this, I can barely get my kids to do what I tell them, right? And so it went from like a 1 to what felt like a 7, because there's always room for improvement, right? But it went to that 7 almost overnight. And I think it's a combination of both. Because at first I saw the playbook, I was telling my wife, like, it was almost like a parenting class, but like how to think about, how to communicate, how to have empathy. Um, I found myself more patient with my own kids afterwards, but it gave me like the psychological foundation that I felt like initially, I didn't really even think about, right? You don't know what you don't know. And then I had asked a question in the group of like, hey, what are, if you're going to give me a dozen or so episodes of your podcast to just soak up while I'm driving, while I'm doing dishes, that sort of thing, what should I listen to? And then I started listening to, who's that guy on the Giants that you had on? I think it was early on.
We had a few giants. We had Matt Cain. We had Barry Zito. We had Brendan Crawford.
I think
We
it was Hunter
had
Pence. Hunter
Hunter
Pence.
Pence.
Yeah.
There it is.
We could just name the lineup.
Uh,
Just yeah.
yeah,
Waiting for Barry Bonds. But
yeah.
but those, like, listening to those made it very relatable. When I grew up, those guys were maybe similar to you. There was no social media. These guys, like Daryl Strawberry was my guy. These guys were like larger than life, not accessible. So to hear like the best, like how they approach it with kids. So that's been like a good thing. And then you mentioned the skills course. Um, I think of three things when I'm trying to put a practice together. And I don't know if this is right or wrong, but the three sort of pillars I think about, right? I think about, like, I'm going to start with this blank canvas and I've got to keep having fun in mind, right? I've got to think about safety. All right. And in no particular order, safety is number one always, right? But those two. And then the third one is growth. And I think of that like, skills growth, that sort of thing. And so as I'm drafting up a practice plan, I'm able to go in, we're all strapped for time. I think that's the other thing. Because I know you've got videos on YouTube and Instagram. Could I invest the time to scour everything and then the things that aren't in there? Possibly, yes. But it was such a huge time saver to go in and think about, like, okay, first practice, let's get some of the basics in. Let's make sure kids can, catch in front of their face. Let's use tennis balls, just all these things I never even thought about. I would have showed up to practice with a bucket of baseballs, right? And probably
Yep.
got some bloody noses.
Yep.
And so, like, it's like, okay, I have this blank palette. Now I have the colors I need to create my practice in a progression from it's literally right. So, and it's the Pacific Northwest, throw in spring break and rain. And so we haven't had today, we'll probably have the most amount of kids if it doesn't rain. But like just thinking about the progression of all the kids, whether we have the full group or half the group. So that's been, I mean, I can go on and on, but that's been pretty significant for me.
Awesome to hear. Yeah. Well, with the playbook, the team created a template practice plan where you can plug and play a lot of these different videos. And for the skills course, I taught you how to teach those age groups how to catch, how to throw, how to field, how to hit. But then I knew I needed to give you some quick fixes or just, a last minute practice plan idea for stations. Right? If you've got 10, 12 kids, you're going to break them up into three groups of three or four, hopefully by experience level. And let's give you a throwing and catching station. Let's give you an idea for a batting station. Let's give you an idea for maybe it's a ground ball station or base running, something like that. But something as simple as like using a tennis ball instead of a hard ball. It's just doing simple better than everybody else. And I learned by failing myself. So, Coach O, I appreciate you reaching out. You're a top fan on Facebook, and um, uh, just happy that the years and years of learning on my part are coming in handy for you now. And um,
Yeah, can
keep
I
it,
can I
keep
double click
going,
on what you mentioned, Coach?
please.
So, you know, I don't have I guess in the major leagues, even in college, you have like assessments of each player, right? When they set up the teams, I didn't get that scouting report, right? Like none of the coaches did. So we have to like figure it out on the fly. And so what we actually did, just to let you know, is we did that drill where you have like a ball and you make it fun, see how many times you can get it around yourself, right? Not telling the kids we're working on hand-eye coordination, but just to kind of see where we're at, and then we progress. So like we went through, so I think of the other sort of coach ball game isms, right? Like, okay, no more than 20 seconds of education for like 8-year-olds, right? We're going to lose them, right? And so like I would step in and just think about like, elbows to the ground, fingers to the sky. Why do you guys think keep them engaged? Like, why do you guys think why do you think this catch is important, right? And then of course the kids got it like pretty quickly. I said, okay, now what you're going to do is throw it underhand to your partner just so they can get it above their head. Let them catch it with the hand that they would use their glove with. Didn't go as planned, right? A lot of missed balls. But that was good because like I'd rather have them hit them in the face with a tennis ball or go by them than a live baseball. And they are harder at this age, that they're not the T-ball balls, or like they got less give, right? And so we would sort of progress them through that. And I thought to myself, like, okay, like these are the kinds of things I feel like we're putting in the work now. I think it'll pay off for the kids. And so yeah, a lot, it's funny, like what I also love about your podcast is you guys could go deep into the psychology of how do you talk to the parents? What do you do if a kid looks like they just feel like they're failing and things like that? So for today's practice, I printed out a little photo of the babe,
Oh,
right? And
let's go.
so we're gonna talk about, what does it take to be a Hall of Famer? Only like 3 out of 10 hits. So we have to like think about embracing failure. And so again, those are the kinds of things that like when you kind of dive into the playbook and then the skills course and you've got this blank canvas and you're putting your own spin on it and your practice and your baseball cards.
Let's go.
You would like this one, I think. It's autograph Ryan Sandberg.
Come on,
Yeah.
Rhino. Let's go.
So those are the things I feel like, again, when I said earlier, like I went from like a 1 to a 7, I feel like I show up and I have the confidence, and my assistant coaches haven't taken your course, but like I feel like I'm able to actually share that with the coaches also and like make them feel involved. I'll text them too. I'm like, hey, these are the 3 things I'm thinking about today. These are the things that we're going to work on. I printed out like 20 of those practice PDFs. And I'll just hand my assistant coach one of them when we get to practice. So I can't thank you enough.
Dude, so cool. And I'm going to get Mrs. Ballgame to print out a Coach Ballgame certified coach certificate, and you can just slap it on your wall. You are good to go. Thanks for hopping on for a few minutes. And I know you've got a podcast, and I'm going to jump on that when my book gets released in just a few weeks. So before you leave, how can everybody find you and your podcast?
Yeah, I appreciate it. So it's just my name, Omaid. So OMAID.me is the website. The podcast is To the Top, inspirational career advice. And yeah, I've like interviewed. It's kind of a range of business leaders, authors, athletes, coaches. It's the gamut, but through the premise of career advice. Which is what I try to share. So yeah, I look forward to reading your book, unpacking that. And yeah, just appreciate what you're doing. Just it's very much needed. I've been on the sidelines. I was on the sidelines last year, just helping out, and you don't know what you don't know, right? And there is something, I was thinking about. There's a saying by Simon Sinek, like the kind of famous leadership author, and he says, "Be the leader you wish you had." And I think of like, be the coach you wish you had, for these kids. And the other day, this is after practice number 2, I was with my son right over here. We're just playing a board game, and I'll never forget this. He goes, Dad, he's like 7, right? And he's like, Dad, you're a good coach. And he just said it. And I was like, okay, I'm taking that to the bank. Like, this is all worthwhile.
Golly. Wow, that's good. I mean that'll just give you a little chills right there. I love that. Well, add a boy to your son, add a coach to you, and hey man, keep going.
Thanks, coach. I appreciate it. Look forward to staying in touch.
It doesn't get any better than this.